Welcome back to Newsline. Here she is, Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis. Well, now she is urging the judge who is presiding over her potential disqualification case, Judge Scott McAfee, to hold stricter standards when it comes to booting her from Trump's election interference case in Georgia. Here is what she states in a brief just filed. In part, it says every Georgia case that has addressed the issue has reached the same conclusion. In order to authorize the trial court to disqualify an elected district attorney, an actual conflict of interest must be proven. No prosecutor in this state has ever been disqualified on the appearance of a conflict. And speaking of the Fani Willis case, Judge McAfee will be running for re-election this year, and he will not be running unopposed. We are welcoming in now the man who is challenging him, Democratic strategist, civil rights attorney, and the former executive director of Reverend Jesse Jackson's Rainbow Push Coalition, Robert Patillo. And you may also recognize him. He comes on quite often for our debate segments. It is always lively and great to have you in today as a solo guest here to talk about your election bid, sir.
Well, thank you so much for having me. We qualified this morning for the race, and we're looking forward to bringing real change to Fulton County.
You know, I wanted to ask you particularly about why you decided to run against Judge McAfee. Is it somewhat the timing of this case, things you have seen, his handling of Fani Willis that made you decide that you wanted to jump in?
Not at all. I think Judge McAfee is a fine young man. He's a fine jurist. I have no qualms about the way he has executed the case, and of course I'm not going to comment on ongoing proceedings, but I don't have nothing bad to say about Judge McAfee. However, prior to his appointment in the end of 2022, I looked at that race when Judge Brasher was leaving the judgeship and thought that would be a good place to step in if ever given the opportunity and present myself for public service to be able to make much needed changes to the Fulton County Superior Court. I've practiced at this court for the past 15 years, and the number of issues that existed long before President Trump and Fani Willis. They will exist long after President Trump and Fani Willis, and we need to concentrate this race on making the types of judicial changes needed to deliver the constitutional service for the people of Fulton County.
Yes, I mean, it does seem like this case now has really captivated many people with the salacious details of it, but there are other issues happening in Fulton County. We'll get to some of that in a moment. I know the jail's been an issue and some of the treatment of people there. But I want to ask you in particular, because Judge McAfee does have a very big decision to make, whether or not to disqualify her. And as you just saw, she is pushing, saying, if it's just an appearance, it's not enough. Her first comments after this story broke about her, Nathan Wade, her lover, this is what she said from a pulpit of a church, and she interjected her race.
You cannot expect black women to be perfect and save the world. The Lord is completing us. We are not perfect. We need your prayers. We need to be allowed to stumble. We need grace.
We need to be allowed to stumble. Some say that's exactly what she's doing. Do you think that any part of what's happening is racism, that if she was a white woman, this would be a different story?
Well, that will call for conjecture on an ongoing proceeding. I'm not going to kind of guess on those issues. But with regards to race, however, I think that it is important to understand the overpopulation and overrepresentation of African Americans in the criminal justice system, particularly here in Fulton County, and the difficulty that this jurisdiction has had in moving those cases along at a rate that is concomitant with other major cities. I've had clients who have been in the Fulton County jail for 2, 3, 4 years awaiting trial. We've had people to be denied a bond, and they have to wait 6 or 8 months to get a bond just to be released from custody. So when we're talking about issues of race, as I said, we have far bigger issues in this county than Fani Willis and Donald Trump. We have to talk about ensuring that we have equal treatment for all individuals, and that money, fame, wealth are not the determining factors as to your services in the criminal justice system, but that we are a nation of laws, not of men, and that every individual has their constitutional rights protected.
Yes, and it is sort of the legal and justice system that many say is pretty fragile right now, with some claim weaponization and misconduct. All right, I'll leave that aside. Obviously, she interjected race and pulled it into that. We'll let you kind of leave it as is, and it was an artful way to kind of dodge that. But while I have you, I do want to get your take on where the rubber hits the road. Will she be disqualified? This is one of the brightest legal minds, many believe, not just in our area, but in the world. Alan Dershowitz says it's so serious, she not only could be disqualified, but in fact charged. Here's his take.
Said it seems obvious to everybody now that the relationship began before he was ever appointed. And so we have a situation where who will prosecute the prosecutors? What if the prosecutor is herself guilty of perjury? What if the two witnesses are guilty of perjury? There has to be a mechanism for independent evaluation of that. She can't investigate herself. There should be a special prosecutor, either from Cobb County or the District Attorney General's office.
Do you support a special prosecutor to investigate Fani Willis, and do you support her being disqualified?
I don't believe that those are germane to the next judge of the Fulton County Superior Court. What I, however, do think is important is that we start breaking up this prosecutor to judge pipeline that we have in this country. I think that when it comes to this core issue of competence, we need to have judges who reflect the American people. We need to have judges who have done something besides just be prosecutors their entire career. We have to ensure that the judges we put on the bench have been defense counsels, they've been civil litigation counsel, they've been family law counsels, because you get a better representation of what it means to represent the people if you've done it, as opposed to if you have simply been behind the prosecutor's bench your entire career.
Well, obviously, there's a lot of folks who'll be looking at you, looking at Judge McAfee, making decisions there as the election moves on. So was that a yes or a no on disqualification, though, just to be clear?
And that's above my pay grade. So I think that what we can focus on are the systemic changes that need to happen in Fulton County, and that's where I would work with the people of Fulton County, not on the instant issue. I think there are far deeper issues that this county needs to fix.
Well, no doubt, Mr. Patillo will be making the headlines. He is going to be challenging Judge Scott McAfee, who may be disqualifying Fani Willis in a very high-profile case against Donald Trump and other co-defendants. Thanks for joining us, sir, and come back soon for one of our debate panels, as always.
Anytime. Love you guys.
Take good care.